So here we are for Global Onslaught, sat in what was a freezing cold Birmingham city centre on a Friday evening, and we're at the O2 Academy with Blake from Huntress. How you doing, Blake?
Heating her up.
Heating her up. So you've been in the UK now for a few days, about a week now, I suppose.
Yeah, almost a week.
Almost a week. How are you finding it so far?
Cold, rainy, but just great.
You said that with such irony in your eyes. You should see this.
We're so proud to be here. We've only had the honor to play over here for a couple days at a time, so this is our first real national. So we got to go farther north and farther west than we've ever got to. We hit download in a couple of small towns, but this is the real deal. It's been so fun.
Well, we are in the centre. You are in the home of metal. You couldn't get more metal than Birmingham.
Every time I listen
Black Sabbath.
Yeah. Judas Priest.
Judas Priest, exactly.
Growing up watching like VH1 classics or like classic albums there's a one documentary or his music historian, and every time he's talking about it, he's like, they were from Birmingham. The cold industrial town of Birmingham. There's coal in the air and all this. You're like, damn, that sounds heavy. And you get here and you're like, well, it looks like a nice town to me.
Well, it's cleaned up since the 1970s.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as it used to be.
Uh-huh.
So you're here for a whole week. You're in London at the Astoria tomorrow. Is it the Astoria? No, Academy. Brixton Academy tomorrow night.
Yeah.
It's gonna be very, very exciting. Is that the last gig on the?
No, we still have Manchester and Bristol.
Superb.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, when you've done this huge tour, you've been across Europe, the whole band, and obviously with Download last year, I have to say Starbound Beast has had a huge response with not just the press, but with the UK fans as well. Have you met any of your new UK fans yet?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a shock to come out to, especially a new country, let alone a new town, and have people out there with copies of the records and CDs and eager to meet you and already knowing your songs and playing the songs, and all these people that already know the words. It's mind blowing, And especially like tons of people coming, we came just to see you guys. We spent so much money on these tickets and we drove all these hours and you guys played for 25 minutes.
I mean, obviously on the bill tonight you're not headlining, but would you like to come back and do a headlining tour in the UK?
Someday, but I'm happy as a clam right here in this lineup. To play these caliber venues to this many people and to be on this plush of a tour is just, you can't beat it.
It's a great line.
Oh, and the lineup is so awesome, and the Lamb of God guys are so cool. Their crew is amazing. It's a blast like this, and it's low pressure. When you're out there headlining, you gotta be able to, you gotta bring the people. We get to come out here and impress people and turn people onto us as a new band without the pressure of filling rooms, because we're not at that stage yet.
Mm-hmm.
We're still a brand new band, really.
Well, how long have you been together in total now?
About 3 years.
So that's relatively new, really, in terms of a life of a band. How have you found it back home in the States? Has it been a similar response to Europe, or is it a very different response? How have you found it so far?
Surprisingly similar, actually. And the States has actually been really, really receptive, which is cool. When we first started this band, everybody around us told us, and we even had the impression, Europe's gonna get what you guys are up to. That real traditional vibe, or influenced heavy metal with all of our weird subgenres of black and death metal that we're into, and throw in there. That's like a European thing.
Yeah.
And obviously it's gone great, but the US isn't far behind, but by even a little bit, so it's been really cool to get such a consistent global response.
I kind of get that European. There's a huge European influence in the album from listening to it, particularly with more so the guitar harmonies and sort of the rhythms. Sort of, it's almost like chugs along in some respects, much like say early Maiden or stuff like that. Did Maiden have any influence in that era at all in the mix, or am I hearing it totally wrong?
Oh no, absolutely, man. At the end of the day, it's like Priest and Maiden have done it best, you know, and like you're gonna hear a handful of those gallop rhythms that Maiden, you know, patented, and but we tried to keep that like songwriting vibe and that like focus on the song and not just the notes and the riffs and being too much of like concerned about each instrument entertaining themselves and wanking around, but writing songs. And that's like what you see when we spent a lot of time learning Priest songs and going, man, they're working together. They're not all trying to fight their own fight to impress people, you know, because metal, I think, has a real bad habit of being an exhibitionist like sport practically, where everybody's like, I'm gonna play faster and I'm gonna sound heavier and tune lower and scream harder, and at the end of the day it's like, alright, you're just trying to prove something you're capable of as opposed to creating music that anybody's gonna give a shit about listening to, you know?
Although it keeps its theatrical edge, I think, with your band.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's important, and Jill gets a lot of credit for that, you know. She's a little theater dweeb at heart, and and so that, you know, it kind of rounds off real well, you know.
Because the impression that I get from this particular album is that it's music that is written for Jill's stories and her characters and so on and so forth. Would that be a correct statement?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of what she does and when we're working on these song processes is she'll tell us, well, I got this song idea, this is like the title, here's some general lyrical themes, and it gives me a spot to jump off of, and kind of I like to work with visuals a little bit when creating auditory songs, you know. It's like, even if she sends me some weird fucking art, you know, and I stare at that and smoke a joint and work on some riffs, it's like, alright, this brings me to that vibe. And then but I think that was a major improvement that we made with this record, is writing for her and making space for the vocals and melodies and the song structures, you know. And then she comes up with some crazy themes and it just adjusts back and forth to perfection.
It's a very interesting writing process because it's quite unusual in that respect from the people that I've spoken to in the past. You know, it seems very, very different. There's always a structure. In most bands it's quite formulaic in that respect, but it doesn't seem to be such an obvious formula.
Well, it's trouble. It's like that's the ultimate question for any songwriter, is like, how do you write songs? And what is it, chicken or egg? Like, is it the vocal melodies first? Is it the guitars? And I think it depends on the genre of music, and metal is often like a guy writes 100 really crazy riffs, puts them all together and goes, now sing over it. The guy goes, how's that? And they're like, perfect, put it out. You know, but you know, it's like, when it comes to like real epic songwriters, and I listen to a ton of Thin Lizzy, that's like one of my favorite bands of all time, and it's like, you know, Phil had some melodic ideas and concepts and wrote these songs, and I don't play acoustic guitar, really give much of a shit about an acoustic guitar, but the concept is that the song should be able to be played on an acoustic guitar, because that proves to you that there is an existing and outlying melody that stands apart and defines the song, as opposed to it just being a bunch of, you know, cranked up instruments.
And would you agree that Live and Dangerous is still the best live album that has existed?
It's up there against Unleashing the East. Those two would that would be a good battle, but those are amazing records. And Lights Out by UFO. Another killer.
Well, yes, but I would have to put Live and Dangerous.
Yeah,
it's at the top of my list.
I'll put that vote in there.
Been a child of the 70s.
Hell yeah. Me too, man. That's where our heart's at, you know, and that's where I think to define Huntress is like our heart and songwriting and approach is in the 70s with those like awesome bands like Scorpions and Thin Lizzy and Judas Priest, but like the tones and the way the aggression and the mood we try and take from a more modern metal approach, you know.
And for me personally, I like it because I can put my headphones on and I sit and listen to your album and get immersed in the stories. And it's a real storytelling album as well, which is, I think, part of its appeal. And I'd like to say thanks ever so much for spending some time with me here in Birmingham on your busy tour.
Hell yeah.
I would wish you luck, but I don't think you're going to need it. It's a great album. It really is. And I'm not blowing smoke up your ass.
Thanks, man.
I promise you.
Thanks for listening to it.
You're very, very welcome. So you've been listening to Adam Onslaught for the Global Onslaught. in a lovely warm dressing room awaiting to see the show. Thank you.